Welcome back. This is episode 3 of the Sioux City Show. I'm your host, Taylor Grote. With me today, I have Chris from The Weekender. Chris, how do you say your last name?
Braunschweig, I think.
Braunschweig.
Or Braunschweig is the
Okay.
German pronunciation.
Ooh, we got the American and the German pronunciation
Oh, yeah.
there. Maybe later we'll dive into Australian and other parts of Europe
Oh, great.
For the pronunciations of that. But Chris is one of my favorite journalists in Sioux City. He's like somebody that I've looked up to from afar for a while now on the stories that he's telling and the way he's telling stories in Sioux City. I think it's super great and covering the things that I know that I at least care about as a person. So I like that a lot. But Chris, go ahead and tell us about being a journalist at The Weekender and what you do specifically.
Yeah. So, I started there back in 2014, and at The Weekender, primarily write stories about, the music scene, theater stuff, downtown, nightlife, food, pretty much anything that is considered fun or, kind of cool, weird, out there. And there's a lot of freedom in that. So, with that, I can pretty much, within reason, write whatever I want. Which is great as a reporter. You that's what you want. That's what you just kind of strive for. And that's kind of what I've been doing since 2014, just talking to some really, really amazing people from all walks of life and learning about what they do either as a job or what they do in their spare time, especially like the musicians. I think that's where I kind of got more of a reputation in. I'll write more music stories.
That's where I became aware of you, definitely.
Yeah. And I think I would think I got a reputation with that, but that's it's primarily what I like to write about because I think they're just they're interesting people and very talented, and it kind of gives them a voice a little bit. So
yeah, and I think it's so easy for anybody living in a town to kind of discount all of the local musicians.
Oh, of course.
Especially like if you don't have a tie to the local music scene per se, then you just kind of view them as a bunch of like garage bands.
Yeah, well, it's like a community that's like kind of built in the underground. That's how it's built as, and everyone else is just leading their own lives. They don't really hear about it unless they just happen to be at like the Marquee or the Chesterfield or some other bar and see these bands going on. Like, oh wow, how long have you guys been together? We've been together for like 10 years. You ever heard of us?
Yeah. I was listening to like a podcast with Wiz Khalifa, and it was with Drama, who was like Rob Dyrdek's cousin from Rob and Big. Yeah, and he asked Wiz like, so you blew up in Pittsburgh, and then how long until you blew up like in the region? And he's like, man, the last place for me to get like popular and famous was in Pittsburgh, because because everybody's like so quick to discount their local musicians as like, oh, just some guy, like, oh, that's the guy that I went to high school with. Oh, he's still trying to rap, you know what I mean? So it's like really, it really be your own people sometimes. Like those are the hardest people to like really get recognition from, I guess. So,
they're doing so much work, and it's just out of. A lot of them aren't just doing that as they're not making a living making music. This is just essentially a hobby or something they love, and they're like busting their asses just to try to get that music out there. And it's it's really inspiring to like listen to their stories and talk to these people. So that's I like writing about that. It's fun. It's cool to hear about either the rappers in here, the old school ones, and even like the newer ones that are like building up their own reputation and throwing up these big shows like and drawing 300 people at a small venue. Like these are like really cool stories and just awesome people to highlight, and that's I like talking to them.
Definitely, I feel that because I really there's not like, especially before social media, there was not a way to hear about local music, and I wasn't, I guess, an avid reader of The Weekender in middle school or whatever, but if there was like an equivalent of Facebook and The Weekender when I was in 8th grade and really looking like around Sioux City for what's going on, like I wish I would have been able to hear about all of, you said like the old rappers or the old school of rappers at this point, guys in their 30s, like Dad, who's Ebola, and Protege. And the Sound Insurgent in there with Kaiser Flose.
Oh yeah.
All those guys are just like killers, like really like great rappers, period. They're not great rappers because they're from Sioux City. They're not like, oh, good dad rappers. They're none of that. They're just like solid good rappers first, and then you can put whatever tags you want on them second. But like I was listening to Mark Koenig's Protege's album from like 2013 the other day, and he's got this track on there called Swagger Not.
Yes.
And I'm convinced that that's like one of the top 5 most like lyrically intricate songs I've ever heard in my life.
He is a damn good lyricist.
Yeah.
Freaking Protege is where it's at. Like I know that album, and I freaked out at him, and because he like posted like a song from it like a couple weeks ago or like a month ago, and I never knew that he had like a solo album out there on Bandcamp. I listened to the song, then went back and listened to the whole thing, and then bought the album, downloaded it, and just downloaded it, and holy cow, I am so disappointed. I had not heard of that.
Yeah.
And there's always like that kind of, there's always new music. Well, not new music, but it seems new. I mean, it was new to me.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic in it. And it's just such a great album. So well produced. It doesn't feel like an underground sort of thing, or like something that someone did in their basement where you can hear like the cooler going on in the background or the heater or something. And it's
shout
just
out
so
to my
well
heater.
done. Yeah, shout out to the heater. But I love that. I love that about that. And there's still music like that. I'm sure there's still music that I still haven't listened to, and
right. Yeah.
it's great to rediscover that.
There's certainly like, I think as far as like cohesive big projects, another one that comes to mind is Rev's Revelations album.
Oh,
like,
yes.
We actually, me and him have a video that we shot for that back in like July that I've been.
Was that Dark Side?
No, well that was way out. Yeah, that was.
Okay.
That was the first music video I ever made actually.
Really? Nice.
Oh,
nice.
I take that back. It was Insomnia was also off that album. But,
yeah.
Insomnia was the first music video I ever made, and then did Dark Side, and now we have a new one for. I don't even want to name the track right now, but I've been sitting on it, and it's like such a different track than I'd ever heard before. So I wanted to do a video that was completely different than like anything I've ever seen before. I'm sure it's been done because the internet exists and everybody's done everything. But the video that he and I made for that, I'm super stoked about, and we're definitely gonna put it out here soon through Honeywave Media. I just don't really know like the context I should put it out in because I got the podcast thing going, and then I have the one take music videos going, and this is certainly not a one take music video. So coming out with like a one-off videos that also come out through this account and what that's gonna look like.
And seeing so many music videos come out is super exciting because you really get to see like the growth of the music scene. Like there's a lot of people that are really interested in making these music videos. I mean, you've been a part of them. I mean, you've shot a lot of them, and that's really, really cool to see. They're branching out and using that like as a social media presence, and really just, I mean, they're blowing up all over my news feed, especially like when Dad released their very first video. Holy crap, how that just like went crazy, went viral.
Right.
And it's just sort of, it's boomed from there. And there was even more music, or there's some music videos I'm sure before that too. But to see that kind of shift is really exciting. I mean, there's even some that just released, Busey, he just released his music video, I think yesterday or a couple days ago, just recently. And it's nice to see that shift. I'm not sure what like kind of started it, but it's nice to see that they're making that leap forward and really trying to branch themselves out as artists.
Definitely. I've seen like a huge growth in it, even from when I started out. Like I said, Rev's Insomnia video was the first one I ever shot, and I want to say that was winter of 15 going into 16. No, it would have been 14 going into 15, and I was like, he had just started putting out music at the time. Me and him went to high school together, and I've always thought he's like super cool dude. He's always been like definitely on his own, doing his own thing, and I have always found that cool in my life. Right, whoever's doing their own thing is something that's interesting to me. And he started putting out songs, and I listened to that Insomnia song, and I like reached out to him, and I just bought my first camera at that point, and I was like, I'm gonna be a video maker now. And so I reached out to him. I said, let's make a music video. I think I can figure out how to do it. We can make something cool. Let's get together and see what we can work on. And we ended up like filming up at Grandview, because that's in front of the graffiti up there at Grandview, which was like the only spot I knew in Sioux City. I just moved back to Sioux City from Iowa City at that point. I'd been gone for like 5-6 years, so because that's how long it takes to get a college degree, if you're cool. And we ended up going up there with like really no plan at all, just like I was half just figuring out if I could find a way to shoot a music video at that point. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, working my camera and all that, and ended up making something that was like pretty cool. and kind of at the time, I believe I was one of the only people shooting music videos in Sioux City. Like, if not really the only one. I think there might have been like one or two other rappers who had like really come out with something at that point.
Yeah.
But I think I was like the first dude to really buy like a nice, because I bought a 5D Mark III, which at the time was like $3,500. I bought, you know, a $3,500 camera, and I was like, I'm gonna do like professional, top quality music videos. I was coming at it from like the artistic standpoint rather than like I'm a rapper. I have a buddy who has a parents' video camera. Let's make a music video to this and figure out the editing later. Like,
Yeah.
I was coming at it from a video first approach, and you know, going from that, where then I put out that video with Rev, and then had a bunch of local rappers kind of hit me up and say like, hey, let's make something together and see what we can do, and kind of coming into it with like no plan. Like, they were just like, I think I want to do this song. Should we go in front of like an abandoned building? Like, you know, because they're just trying to like replicate what they've seen on videos before. And I've seen it go from that, where it's like kind of figuring out what music videos were going to be in Sioux City, to now you got guys like Alejandro, who you've talked to, and he's got that David Daniels project come out, and he's like really, he's kind of taken over the reins as like art director on that, because he has like such a specific vision that he wants his visuals to look like.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, in terms of, he's working with his cousin Giovanni, who's a talented graphic designer. He's got his like, you know, professional production team, sound engineering team, and then like coming to me with, you know, specific ideas for what he wants the visuals to look like, and me and him working together to make that happen. It's been really cool to see the Sioux City rap scene progress from like really that DIY aesthetic, which is like, we're just gonna make stuff, put it out, hope that like our 50 friends see it, and then make more stuff, put it out, to like really trying to create a full concept and put that out as huge projects that like regionally gets attention.
Well, and I want to know what the next step to that is going to be. Like, are we going to see like music videos with like more narrative style to it, or are we going to see something, or maybe people step away from that?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. The possibilities seem almost endless at this point, because it's growing, and they're really taking advantage of the resources that they have, and it seems like in all the music videos, they're really showing off the city, Sioux City itself, and like what, I guess, where they're from. And it's really cool to see how they're kind of embracing that and not being, you know, fake about that sort of stuff.
Right.
Which is obviously pretty important in hip hop.
You know, like it really is. You know, people are like, whatever. You know, every rap video has a rented Lamborghini at some point.
Yeah, yeah. If we could get that in Sioux City, that'd be pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and it's just I've like, that's kind of been my thing, is I try to bring as much of my view and concept and direction into these videos as much as possible, for the most part. And like, something that I'm really big on, if I'm gonna put my name on it, is I want it to be like as authentic as possible to the life that they're living and the life that I'm living. Because like, you know, getting, you know, naked girls in the video is just not appealing to me. It's not, you know, first of all, it caused some problems at home with the old lady.
That'd be a little difficult.
Yeah. But
got some explaining to do.
Exactly. So it's just not it's not exciting to me. And touching back on like the narrative video concepts, is that we've like really been finding a tough middle ground on like lifespan of videos, and like the amount of work that you're willing to put in to jump over that hurdle of like, this is a quality music video that people would like to watch, right? And then going from like, this is show-stopping, game-changing music video, and kind of the problem that music video doesn't really have a lifespan anymore, especially with the way that like online algorithms work, because you're not getting plays on MTV where you're gonna be on TRL every day for the next like 4 months, right?
TRL.
So you're not getting that, where you're putting it out on Facebook, you're putting it out on YouTube, and with the exception of people getting back into your old work on YouTube, like on Facebook, that video is only going to have a lifespan of about a week. You know, like every time anybody I work with has a video, the second day, the amount of views, that's about as many views as that video's gotten, and that's ever going to get.
Well, I think like this big rise of all these hip hop videos and just their work in general. I mean, it's kind of indicative of the times a little bit, because there was like an article that came out, I can't remember where, but they said that hip hop was the most popular genre of the year and has like finally beat rock,
Oh, that's
which
crazy.
is really kind of cool to see. And obviously like that they're obviously talking like mainstream, but I think you can also that's applicable to the local level as well, because there's at least from what I've noticed is I've been doing a lot more hip hop stories, and there's more people that I can talk to, and there's more people putting the work out there. And I don't know. I mean, I've only been in Sioux City for like 7 years, but and really only knew about the music scene for the past 4 years. I'd like to see like if what the hip hop scene was like back then, because I know they like the old guys
Yeah.
talk about it pretty highly, and I want to know what it's like back then, or if it'll eventually like just kind of ebb and flow like everything else, or if it'll keep rising. I don't know.
I think I see it rising. Like if we're going from where I'm throwing here, it went from Sioux City basically like not having a well-known rap scene. Like it's always been thriving in the way that there's always been talented rappers in the area, but as far as like especially with Dad putting, if you go to
that was huge.
If you go to any one of their videos, like the clips that went viral on other Facebook pages, like people will be like, I live in Sioux City, didn't even know that there was any rappers here. I get that all the time when I'm shooting music videos, that somebody will say, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I got to go shoot a music video. And they're going, well, for who? Who raps in Sioux City? I'm like, dude, there's like 10 people I shoot videos with consistently. So there's plenty of people doing it, probably 50 rappers that are actually like, actively putting out music and playing at the Marquee or wherever else. So
yeah, I don't know, it's definitely grown. And I mean the other part of the scene too is still doing well. Like the rock bands and stuff, like Calling Grace and stuff. I mean, they seem to have a pretty smart ear. And what I love about them is that they're actually aware of like having a presence and having an image, whereas it didn't seem to be on everybody's like to-do list before. And now it seems like there's a lot of people recognizes like, okay, we actually have to like develop ourselves, brand ourselves almost.
Yep.
And like that's grown too. And that's like from the past 4 years, like from when I first was introduced to the music scene to now, that I think is like the biggest step forward and everything. And it's neat to see that. I don't know why it took so damn long, but they finally, it's finally happening. And
I think a lot of it comes from lack of representation in media. Like it's a common thing for like if any label, any subgroup, like it was tough for like comedians or Indian American comedians to feel like that they really had a chance until you see like Aziz Ansari and Mindy Kaling and stuff really make it, right? And I think it's kind of the same with like that ultra rural working class America small town, where like the idea of going to Hollywood and being an actor or being a professional musician isn't really something that anybody from here does. Growing up, when I was growing up in the 90s, like it wasn't something that I could do. Like at one point, every high school kid who was white and 6 foot tall thought that they could be Kirk Heinrich at one point, because Kirk Heinrich did make it big, so it became like a legitimate option for your life. And there hasn't really been that for music, like Tommy Bolin was like, how big of a deal was it that a guy from Sioux City played guitar in Deep Purple, like it's still famous for, a 3-year career, like really playing guitar like professionally as a rock star, and still has like Tommy Bolin Fest for.
But yeah, that stuff's always going on. There's always like that sort of remembrance of Tommy Bolin and like what he's done. And and that's a testament to Johnny Bolin, all of the friends of Tommy that have stuck around and remember him and still honor him, and that's really, really cool to see. And listen to a lot of Tommy Bolin's like solo stuff is actually really, really good, and I would never have been exposed to that had it not been for Johnny and all the stuff that's going down with Bolin Fest. So
exactly, and like going with that, representation in the media thing is that you kind of do, you see like Kirk Heinrich make it, and then you're like, oh, I can be a basketball player. You see, and then I think going forward, you see dad gets a video that does 50 million or 30 million views in a week, and you're like, oh, damn, I guess we can do something. Yeah. So you have that whole like, okay, there's a road path to get to the next level, right?
Yeah.
So now that we have seen that, we do need to have a consistent web presence. We do need to have solid video content coming out. Mm-hmm. We do need to have Taylor Grote shoot a music video for us.
And Chris Braunschweig writing a story about them.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly.
Obviously.
You need all those things. There's the roadmap, and you do have that chance then. And I think that also my sister's band, 35th and Taylor, having.
They had a great year too.
Yeah, relative success, like in the Bon Jovi deal. I think it's huge. It really opens the door for like, okay, so Sioux City bands can do it, and this has been done, and this is what the roadmap was for them. So like branding's a good first step. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that it's just cool to see all of that happening in Sioux City all kind of at the same time, and people really trying to like turn what used to be like garage bands and groups of friends jamming into like, oh, we could make this into a business. Let's give it a year or two go.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that still like a garage band aspect to it, that underground feel is still happening in places. Definitely. Like people throw their own private shows and stuff, and those are kind of cool and whatnot. And it's cool to like see that not go away, because I think that's also really important, because that's how people first get exposed to it, either whether in high school or college or whatever, just through their friends. And still having that around, and then seeing them like when they're 21 and at the marquee or whatever, but I want to know is because when I think of Sioux City and a music scene, and knowing Sioux City, like it's a working class town, and it's called Sioux City, but it's pretty much a town. But I don't know. Like how the artists don't get discouraged, because it's not like, they'll have great shows, they'll have great crowds and everything, but I don't know how they can't get discouraged when there's like still a bit of like when you don't have that big crowd and that support and stuff. And I'm sure there are a lot of bands that lose that and stuff like that's, I don't know. There's some headstrong freaking bands and artists in here to actually find the will to keep moving forward when everything's kind of against them a little bit.
I think it really comes down to throwing out, like being able to like re-strategize. And in the business world, they'd call it like making a pivot and figuring out like what, if you're cool with playing shows in front of 15 people, then that's cool. Right. Then, okay, then you made it to that. Like, right. And then just stay there forever. Become complacent if you want to. But like, if you do want to move up and be playing shows in front of 300 people, how do you do that? Do you increase like your like branding and marketing and putting out, do I put out a music video every month at that point? Do I put out a music video every week?
Do I only play Sioux City maybe one time every 3 months or something like that?
Follow the general touring practices. And, do that. And also like, how do I restructure my shows? How do I, do I play with like different bands? Is it the people who I'm playing with on this ticket that aren't bringing people? Like at what point do I switch things up? And I think that like people are really starting to do that. Yeah. More so. But I just like think it's super cool when you look at all of the possible venues in Sioux City that a band can switch up at, right?
Yes. Like, there's like I don't know if I call it a trend, but you can sort of call it a trend. The acoustic shows that are going down, they are everywhere. Yeah. Work in Church, Marty's, and like
Bergie's has.
Yeah, even Bergie's. Yeah, they'll have them at all these different places, and I think that's really good, because that's a good way for people to get introduced to the music scene that way. Yep. Because whether it's like Spencer Afspleef of Port Nocturnal, playing a acoustic show, or back when Heath Davis was around from Number 7 band or 7, playing acoustic shows and stuff. It's that's beneficial, and that's how I got to that's got to help, right? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't, but
I think it does. I think that there's definitely like an increased awareness of like even local music in Sioux City right now.
yeah,
Where
I hope so.
I think that hard rock has been kind of a factor in that too. You know, as much as people like to hate on the hard rock for not being local or whatever,
Yeah.
but like that, you know, Ben Grillette and Gypsy Lover, the rest of Gypsy Lover, and Ben's working on a solo project right now, and like really getting them in front of a larger audience in Sioux City, I think was huge as far as like, damn, this dude's really talented. This band is talented as hell.
It was basically a cover band made it to the championship of
Yeah.
the very first Road to Vegas.
Yep. Which
And-
hurt a lot of feelings, but
It probably did.
Yeah.
You know, people can take that for whatever it is, but I mean, the bottom line is they had a freaking killer live show.
Yeah.
Those guys were animated as hell, and they were great. They drew a crowd, and I mean those were kind of the that's how you won. That's how you did well in those competitions.
yeah,
And they brought it every single time, man.
no doubt.
I
No
mean,
doubt.
They competed and like actually looked like were on par with Arson City's live show,
Right.
which was pretty extensive as well.
Yep.
Very high energy and stuff. I hate using that term, but it's what it is. And I mean, and they were great. And yeah, I mean, the hard rock definitely has played a part in that sort of thing. There are some people that always say like, "Well, why don't you let local artists play at the Hard Rock or do these shows and that?" Well, I can see that sort of complaint, but I can also see it from the business side. They have to make money,
Yep.
and
yeah.
obviously a regional or national act is probably going to draw in more people and earn more money than a local act. I mean, it's
Yeah, and I think Brad Streeter, the dude booking down there, does a great job of like bringing in all different levels, genres, because they could very easily just be doing hard rock there.
yeah, of course.
But like bringing in the up and coming country acts, even like some, like I'm trying to think of a rapper who's been there. I guess like Mike Posner is probably the closest.
Yeah, it's
to,
probably
like,
closest
rap.
one.
Now they have Genuine coming, but that's like solid R&B. That's 90s R&B for real.
But it's opening that
yeah.
door though.
Yeah.
And I think I mean this last Road to Vegas where Dad was drawn a pretty large crowd, I think probably maybe opened a few doors as well, and so maybe in the next few years we might see like some full on hip hop shows. But it's all about that progression. And country is obviously like a big thing. Brad Streeter brought Chris Stapleton to Battery Park.
That's still like the show that when people talk about it, I was out in LA last month and there was like people going, yeah, the one show I'd really want to go to right now is Chris Stapleton. I'm like, I saw him in Sioux City, Iowa, like right as he was it was like right after he had blown up.
Yeah.
The show was booked before he had blown up, but he blew up and we got to see like who I think is definitely in the top 3 country musicians.
He's definitely my favorite
now.
country musician right now.
Yeah, I can't put him above Sturgill Simpson right now.
Oh well.
Are you familiar with the Sturgill Simpson?
Yeah.
Have you heard Culture Wall?
I haven't.
Oh, you got to check out some Culture Wall. If I had somebody in the studio right now to pull it up, I definitely would. But
I'm definitely digging the Chris Stapleton. The fact that we actually got him there is crazy. And that I think he was actually in Sioux City one other time. I think he was an opener.
Really?
For over like at an Orpheum show, I think. I might not be 100% correct on that, but I think that's what I've heard. But like that was in his heyday. That's when he blew up, getting the Grammys and stuff. And then boom, here he is in Sioux City, and probably the smallest market show that he's had on his tour.
Definitely at the size he's at now.
Yeah.
Because I know he was like a long time songwriter. I guess he was saying that he has over 1,000 songs in his catalog.
I'd believe it.
Yeah, he just he wrote
He's
for
a
like
monster.
15 years in Nashville, like professionally for a record company. So he's just turning out song after song after song every day. And and then like decided like, oh, I can make this work because I have the best voice in country music. You know, how long does it take to put 2 and 2 together on that one?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and like going back to hard rock, helping the local scene. I mean, let's talk about Road to Vegas, man. Like that was a big boost.
Right.
And the first one, the second one, the first one brought a lot of people there, and this one, it had a lot of bands that were out of town, which caused a little bit of controversy. Some people didn't think that was fair, but then Sioux City was still beating people out, the regional acts that people projected, and maybe even I probably did too, to maybe win the competition or do, better. But Sioux City brought it, man.
Yeah, I know. I know. I thought that there was like no chance that, because I like with Dad, I have always been a huge fan of Dad. Like I was a fan of Ebola and Protege as rappers before Dad ever existed. I downloaded their mixtape the day it came out, the year before we ever worked together or even talked, at that point. And I just thought that there was no way that like having judges from Z98 was going to result in, just a rock-based crowd, a rock-based venue, that two rappers were going to win that, right? And, at the time, that was like even, I want to say that round one was before the Go to Work came out.
I think it was.
So like that, yeah. So
because I know I think you're right on that one. Because I remember that second show of theirs, they had a lot of people, a lot.
People it really helps when like half the crowd knows all the words to like a few of your songs.
That was so cool,
right?
To like be in that crowd and people singing an original song by a Sioux City artist.
Yeah,
that's got to feel really good for them. But it was, just from an observer's like standpoint, like this is so cool.
Yeah, that's when I knew that like we'd like done something that like kind of blew up on a local level, like because it's easy to get 30 million views on something and have zero notoriety from it, but it's also another thing when you can pack a crowd at your local venue or your local Hard Rock and have everybody know the words to your song. That's pretty dope.
And a lot of Sioux City artists, I think, from the road to Vegas, that just both of them learned a lot and progressed even more. That very first one, it was all about the live show and like how you presented yourself. And if you were kind of a boring live show, you got knocked out or you didn't do too well. It didn't matter if you like had amazing sets or whatever. If you look back and see the top four bands, they had probably some of the best live shows in the entire competition in that very first road to Vegas. And then people saw that, they upped their performances. A lot of them for that second one, their performances were great, and then it was all about like kind of online and how they were marketing themselves online because they saw Dad do the videos and saw how that blew up, and it kind of grew from there. So it's kind of cool to see that kind of effect that Road to Vegas had on the local scene. And like people will bitch and complain about the regional acts, but Sioux City knocked them out. So
and Arson City winning the first year, I was like legitimately a fan of Arson City after watching that show. I have their album downloaded to my phone right now. One of like the 3 albums I have actually downloaded to my phone.
Definitely deserved to win, man. They had a great show. I thought so. I thought it was pretty great, and I think a lot of people learned. Musicians and stuff learned some valuable lessons from that show. And when Road to Vegas 2 came around, they brought their A game.
Well, much to your detriment, from what I read in the Weekender, they all wanted to start with the video playing.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, man.
The nonsensical videos.
Those road recaps, apart from being my favorite things I think I've ever written in 2017, those are my favorite stories. Just hands down, because I've never written a series like that before. But yeah, I think they probably, maybe not trying to impress me, that's not the right word I'm looking for, but I could tell they were reading a lot of my stories, and some of them just flat out ignored. They're like, well, we'll have a video, but it'll be cool, or we'll have like an intro and it'll be awesome. And it's like, okay, you did have an intro. It was pretty good. And that was fun. I loved writing those road recaps, man.
Those were like, that's probably my favorite piece of local journalism that exists as a series, honestly. And that's not even because you're sitting here. Like that was like one of those things that I read, and I was like, it's really cool that not only that somebody's doing this, but it's like well done.
Yeah, I've never written anything like that before. I've always wanted to do some sort of critique or reviews. I've always loved like movies and doing movie reviews, but I've never ever really done like live performance reviews.
Yeah.
And finally doing that felt so good.
Yeah.
And it also made me nervous because I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was like the first piece of like actual criticism. It was early on in the competition, and I was really hesitating about printing it. And sure enough, I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. That's.
Mm-hmm. And this was Road to Vegas 1?
This is Road to Vegas 2, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, Road to Vegas 1 was like me going there with friends, having some beers, and just being an observer. There was a little bit of critique in there. But the Road to Vegas 2 ones where I kind of got serious with it and like turned it into full-on reviews, long-form reviews. I've never been able to do that. Like they probably didn't need to be that long, but I had a lot to say.
I read the whole thing, so yeah.
And like, it was just such a fun experience to see people either take my advice and also just willingly let me kind of roast them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, no one was really all that mad at what I had to say. And I thought maybe they would. I didn't, because I don't want them to take it personally, because it's not personal. I'm not trying to attack them and say they're a bad musician.
Yeah.
I was just trying to be a critic of some sort. So
yeah. I think the like most the one that I was like I feel that one is was the one that you wrote about, I think, City of the Week after round 1.
Oh,
about, like,
yeah.
because they had the like big, I think, the large stage set up, and you kind of just like said, you said like, what is it adding? What is this doing for me? Like, what does it mean? What does it represent? Right? Is it because you have city in your name? And like, they're kind of an example of a more regional band who like is a talented band, right?
Oh, very
but I
good
think
band.
it's easy for a band that blows up or gets decently big to like think that they don't need to like impress somebody at they don't have to impress the casual observer. And I thought it was like a really like, what are you doing for me here? What is this supposed to mean?
Yeah.
And I like that. I thought that was like a really fair criticism when looking back on it.
Yeah. I mean, I look back on it every once in a while and think like, was I too nitpicky here? Because I feel like at some places I was probably nitpicky. I don't take back what I said at all.
Yeah.
But it's, especially with City of the Week, I think I let them have it hard. I was just not having it, man. I felt like I was like they were trying to just put a wool over my eyes.
Yeah.
And just, you'll like this.
Yeah.
Like, no, they've had fun music, but they lost me.
Yeah.
They lost me. And like that like super, super long intro and stuff they had. That's when I think that's when I went on my intro rant.
Yeah.
So sorry, City of the Week, but I think you're a fun band.
Yeah.
Just definitely laid into them a little hard.
Yeah.
But it was still like fun to do that and like be able to do that freely without much complaints back to me.
Yeah,
Not that I heard, at least.
I thought it was pretty fair. I mean, yeah, you're probably tougher on them than I've seen of like most of your reviews, but I didn't read it and go like, it didn't seem like a vendetta. It seemed like a person who honestly had some like a list of critiques that wanted to.
I was even
address
tough
those.
on Dad too.
Yeah, that's messed up, dude.
I know. I'm sorry.
Those are my homies.
I'm sorry, Dad. but man, like, because I think I expected more from them. It was their second show back. They had this big crowd, and I wasn't impressed with them like the first time. So, but then the championship show was like they're probably their best one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we worked together to put that intro video together.
Yeah, that was cool. See, that one was I
thought about having a screw Chris Braunschweig slide right at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, all those things I said about the intros and stuff. It was just they just threw it out there. I'm like, we don't care. So I mean that's good too, because obviously I'm just one voice.
Mm-hmm.
They can take my criticism, and because I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
So they can take that and just roll with it and do their own thing.
You do have to also take into account that it's got a lot of practicality to it as well. Like where you can you can have a video rolling to take everybody's eyes off the stage while you're doing your walkout, so it creates a lot less awkward tension.
Man, that was the worst part, I thought, because it was always so dark, and then you just see the light opening from like that green room door, and it's like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
There was never like surprise or anything. I guess there still was, but yeah, that was.
They should have had somebody come up through the floor.
Seriously, we need some trap doors in the Hard Rock Anthem stage.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, what the hell's going on over there? It's a
not fair,
permanent
man.
stage. Put some
Make it
trap
fun.
doors in. Yeah.
Put some cool stuff in there. I don't care.
You ever been back in the green room there?
I have.
So tiny.
It is very tiny. I went there for a story. It was like a green room there. I've been to the Winter Vegas green room. They're really cool. The Winter Vegas one has like a bunch of like autographs on the wall from all the performers that were there, so that's kind of neat. The green room in Hard Rock, I think, is really cool with all the records and stuff on the wall.
Yep.
Definitely tiny, but
like way smaller than you're thinking.
Like, but I could. I mean, if it was just me, I'd like that. I'll make that my room. That's
true.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd move in. Definitely. They had a fridge there, nice bathroom attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What more do you need?
A bed, but they got a couch.
Yeah,
so
they got comfortable seats. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's the first time I went back there, I was like, damn, this is definitely about 3 or 4 people can fit in here comfortably. Yeah. After that, you're about cut off.
I mean, luckily they have like that little like bigger area, I guess, like that little
triangle.
Yeah, there's like some space where there's more stuff that you can kind of fit people around and fit equipment and stuff. So obviously you're not going to fit equipment into the green room, but
true. But yeah, we've talked a lot about being in Sioux City and like the music scene here. You're not from Sioux City originally?
No, I'm actually from Altoona, Iowa. So if you've heard of like Prairie Meadows or Adventureland, that's literally my hometown.
Sweet. I used to stop at Prairie Meadows every once in a while on my way to and from Iowa City to break up that drive and do a little gambling in the middle of a long drive.
Yeah, that place has gotten big. When I first moved there, Altoona was so small. It was just nothing but like cornfields and a little bit of housing, a couple schools, and then Prairie Meadows.
And a Monterey Mexican
we
restaurant.
eventually, oh man, well that was like, once we got Monterey and like a Walmart, we were moving up in the world. Right. And
it's like Sergeant Bluff.
Yeah, it is like Sergeant Bluff actually.
Wow.
Now we got a Target. Now like Altoona's grown. There's a freaking mall in Altoona now. There's a giant mall. There's a really nice movie theater, like the recliner seats and stuff, like leather.
Sick.
It's pretty great. So that's where I grew up in Altoona. Went to Southeast Polk High School.
Okay.
And then eventually made my way here to Sioux City in 2010 when I graduated and went to Briarcliff University. So
cool. And so what'd you do at Briarcliff? Was it journalism focused or?
So I went to Briarcliff. Thinking I wanted to work with cameras. I was big in movies. I'm like, I want to be a director, and I really hadn't. But other than that, I had no direction or any idea of like really what I wanted to be.
So you came to Sioux City to jumpstart that film career.
I wanted to get away from my high school, and literally no one else in my graduating class was going to Briarcliff. I'm like, well, all right, cool. I'm going to a private Catholic college, and everyone thought that was pretty funny, since I was at a public school and not really religious or anything like that. So, when I got to Briarcliff, I kind of got introduced to the mass comm department, the people, and got introduced to Sioux City. I-29 was still in construction. And from there, I think that's when I really got into mass communications. I got into writing. Started taking more writing courses. News writing was really fun. Bruce Miller was my teacher for that. Now he's my boss. So that's kind of an interesting progression. But I didn't really know I wanted to be a reporter until maybe my junior year. Because in mass communications, they teach you photography, video, and news writing, and PR a little bit. And a little bit of social media. We were kind of going into that. We eventually turned from mass communications department to mass media or multimedia. I don't know. Like
new media?
Yeah, something like that. And so it was kind of in that weird transitional media phase, but it was still really cool. And that's how I got into journalism, basically. I had an internship over at the Sioux City Journal. I was like a general assignments reporter. They made me do everything. Okay. The only thing I didn't really get to do was cops. I never got to go to a fire. There was one chance where I thought I could go to a fire, but it turns out that a fire alarm just went off inside of a old folks home.
I'm sorry about that, man.
Yeah, no, it was all good.
I'm sorry you didn't get to watch a nursing home burn down.
Yeah, that sounds really bad now. But I mean, it was something. I went with a cops reporter, like, oh, we're gonna go, and then like, oh, there's no smoke, there's no fire, everyone's safe, no story, we're good. But everything else I did, I like covered floods, I covered some other stuff, and eventually when I was finishing up with my internship, they're like, hey, do you want to? We're gonna give you the choice between being the cops reporter or working the weekender. I was like, oh well, weekender sounds way more fun. Let's go with that. And that's kind of how I got to Sioux City. I've been here since like 2014 now. So
Slick.
Living in here and
well, you've been here since what, 2010?
Oh
right?
yeah, well yeah, I've been here 2010. I like went back home on like summers and stuff. There was a couple summers where I stayed in Sioux City, but yeah, I really got an appreciation for the place because everyone, especially back home, they always make the jokes, Sewer City, everything that you always freaking hear. But I think, and especially through the weekender, which is like our motto is there's always something to do in Sioux City or whatever, which is true. It's very true. I gained an appreciation for the place, and I really genuinely like Sioux City, and I think I can attribute that to the people and what's actually going on here. And yeah, the people that always say that there's nothing to do in Sioux City, they're just being lazy and not going out to look for it. Because with Sioux City, it's like it won't fall in your lap, sort of thing, and that's why I think it's actually kind of cool. You actually have to find what you like and what you love in Sioux City.
You're right. I think that another thing about Sioux City is that I'm from here, right? So all of my friends who, or people I know even that moved away and moved to a bigger city, like I always hear the like reasons being like, oh, there's always something to do. Like there's always live music. There's always, we can go on hikes. It's like, we have Stone Park. We have live music. Like I feel like Sioux City has a shit ton of live music all the time.
Yeah.
And it might not be like, in Iowa City, there's a whole lot more mid-level rappers coming through town every weekend. So, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, I guess Sioux City doesn't have Wiz Khalifa coming here once a year. But it does have something going on every night. And then there is like Stone State Park or Bacon Creek, where you can go on like these beautiful hikes where like the city is basically maintained, and the city and the state have maintained like these beautiful parks for everybody to go into for free. And I just like never feel like there's any shortage of cool shit going on.
No, of course not.
Not even if there is something that isn't going on, I think Sioux City might be one of the easiest places to start up what you're trying to do. Like, if hypothetically you're some guy who's trying to start a podcast, like it's really not too tough to message people from the Weekender to get them on your podcast. And I have some guests that are, I don't want to spoil any guests right now, but I have some guests that are committed to be on the podcast with me who are legitimately like out of Sioux City celebrities, and just like they're like, oh, you're doing something that's so cool. Yeah, I want to be a part of that. Yeah, I'd love to help you do something with that. So it's just like the general willingness to like be a part of a community in Sioux City is unreal.
Oh yeah, and there's like all that sort of, and there's all little communities, and I love that. I mean, there's the theater community, and there's always like the same, and it kind of overlaps and stuff. People are in the theater community, also in the music community, and like the comedy scene and stuff. They do their own thing. But I think something that sort of sets Sioux City apart from other places, that at least that I've been, and I really haven't been that much. I haven't seen the coast or anything, but as far as like Iowa goes, Sioux City is like the bar scene, and I don't mean just drinking, getting drunk. The stuff that's actually going on at bars, and the amount of bars that we have, and the distinction between them all, and all the fun stuff that's going down there, is really, really overlooked, in my opinion. Like there's plenty of bars that are wanting to do these like big events, whether it's a chili cook-off over like Marty's or like a big pho day where you can just buy a big bowl of pho from people, pay $5 and there's your pho, and it's amazing. Like it's really cool to see like sort of this bar life going down.
Yeah. The Marquis Insane Bloody Marys.
Yeah, that's and they're competing with Crash Boom Bang, the whiskey hole, right next to Working Church, and like their extravagant setup and their Bloody Mary bar that they have. Like that's really, really cool to see that. It's great. Yep. It's great, and I think a lot of people. I don't know. I don't think they should look down on it because the bar life is cool. I mean, because that develops its own community right there. And that's just because of the amazing people that run those bars and kind of drive those communities. Like it's fun going to bars. It really is.
Yep. I grew up in Sergeant Bluff, so like my hometown bar will forever be Eddie's.
Yes,
down in
Eddie's,
Sergeant
yes.
Bluff. And I can't tell you how many people I've had from like even Sioux City, but and like cousins and friends and family will visit out from outside of town, from like bigger cities or whatever. They are every time astonished about what is the norm at Eddie's, because like during a Hawkeye football game, right? There will be there will be a potluck where like everybody who is a regular at the bar brought down their like chili dip or their like little smokies or whatever, and just leave all their food out for free, and anybody can grab their food, and they'll do that. And then they'll also, like, Dan Lewis owns the place, and for every Hawkeye touchdown, it's a free beer for the bar. Anybody wearing a Hawkeye shirt, like that's unheard of in bigger cities. That's just a crazy deal, right?
Yeah, they're creating these really, really fun experiences that you can only get at their place, and they're going out of their way, whether it's like giving away free food, like Firehouse gives away so much free food during like their Hawkeye games, and their Hawkeye games are like they're different from Marty's Hawkeye games, and that goes with any of the other bars and stuff. Like they all have their own atmospheres and things going on, and it's so cool to be a part of. And you can pretty much find anything that match your taste. Like if you want something chill, you can find a chill bar to just hang around in, sip a drink, chat with the regulars, whatever. If you want to go crazy, you can go crazy. Like it's if you want to listen to live music, you can listen to live music. There's stuff going on.
There's like a community. I feel like right now the community of bar owners gives a shit about like what it means to be a bar in Sioux City. Like 21st Amendment just rebranded to the 1008 Key Club. And then like Marquee, now that it's owned by Mick, always did an awesome job at the Marquee, right? Or at Chesterfield, it's always like that was the spot where most Sioux City bands like really started at and like became an official band.
That was my first interview.
Damn. And so but like now that even now the next generation now is being Kelly Quinn and is it Mitch Martin? Mitch Martin owns it, like, and just like the way that they've taken a Sioux City establishment, the Chesterfield, and turned it, like, I feel like it's Chesterfield 2.0 now, the bigger stage area, the bigger an extra bar now in the back, and I just think it's amazing in there, and nothing but like good upgrades. So,
and like good for them too, because and I don't mean this in a bad way, but Sioux City has a tendency to like not let things go, or has a really hard time letting things go. And obviously the Chesterfield had a lot of impact here. A lot of people loved the Chesterfield, and Kelly and Mitch and Emily and Kelly's wife, I'm gonna forget your name. No, but they all like got together and wanted to make something completely different, and make something that they're musicians. They want to make something that musicians will love, and that the fans will love too. And they've really like set themselves apart and worked towards it, and they're still working towards it. And there's some really good entrepreneurial spirit running through those guys' veins, and you can clearly see it, and to see them find success is really, really nice. And I just look at the stuff that's always going down there. There's always something,
right?
So.
Like vinyl night, I think
so
Thursday
cool,
night is vinyl night there.
I think so. I think they've like changed it up a few times, but it might be Thursday now.
Might be too. I don't know.
Or I know they had it like on a Sunday too.
Last time I was there, they had like a showing of Home Alone.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and I remember seeing like the Life Aquatic. They had that on one time, and people will go there watch football games. They'll go there for their Bloody Marys, their extravagant ones. So they're finding reasons, these fun ways to get people through the door. And that I think that's pretty important, and they're killing it.
Yeah, and also what Kelly Quinn's doing at Marty's with Brew City, along with Matt Hubert.
That is so cool.
Getting a brewery started up out of an existing location, turned it into a brew pub, essentially. And I know that they have like the ability at whatever point they want to scale to, even like start putting kegs in other bars. So that's cool. They have like the ability to sell out of their own bar as well as local.
Something's being born out of another bar. And Marty's like I remember going there before Kelly owned it, and this was in my college days, and I think my first time there wasn't too pleasant. I think I was like scared of that bar because it was like really, really dark.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's totally different, but yeah, still somewhat similar to what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remembered like all the Hawkeye stuff and things over there, which I thought was cool, but then everything else about it, like kind of was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah. I feel like it's everybody's first time there. It's like you,
yeah,
it's the old book by its cover, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
It was scary. It was dark, man. And but it's not even like that anymore. And I feel so comfortable in that place. I feel comfortable in pretty much every bar, whether it's like on 4th Street, BA's or something, or the bar at Soho, or even Rocks and Rails. Like that place is cool too, especially for like the country crowd and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big Diving Elk fan personally.
Oh, Diving Elk.
Yeah.
Whew. I gave up basically beer for buying beer for my like New Year's resolution kind of thing.
Oh, that's for a year?
Yeah, for a year.
Holy smokes.
So far, all I've had is just a taste of it, but it was a free sample, so it doesn't count.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, Diving Elk and like the craft beer, and like they've clearly set themselves apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even feel fair calling them a bar. I mean, they're like a full-on restaurant on some days.
Yeah.
And that place is great people working in. And then, yeah, it's cool to see all these like bar owners and people working the bars. The bartenders, I don't think I really had bad bartenders in the last few years. So everyone's really like doubled down on improving themselves, no matter what facet it is.
Yeah, so. It really makes it. You hate it when you go to like when you're flying or something, and you got some bartender who just doesn't want to be there, and it's just like punching the clock in your shit. Why can't I just be back in Sioux City where bars are fun and the bartenders give a shit?
Yeah, they're so damn personable here.
Yeah.
I think I could probably spark up a conversation with any of the bartenders there. Either that or they'll spark up a conversation with me. So it's, I don't know, it feels good when you go to these bars and you feel that sort of camaraderie.
Yeah.
When just you being a customer.
My girlfriend texts back and forth with one of the bartenders at Eddie's every once in a while. I'm just like, wow, that's a relationship to have with your bartender.
That is pretty good, yeah. Makes me my drink.
Yeah. We used to like go there all the time on Thursday nights. This was like 3 years ago. We'd go there every Thursday night and play in a euchre tournament and just get waxed by every dude there over 50 years old. It was just like a donation. I can't remember what we'd throw down some money and every week. It was just like, here, take it at this point.
That'd be all right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Euchre's a fun game, though. You ever learned how to play?
I actually haven't, no.
Oh, now you live in Sioux City. You better have somebody teach you.
I gotta do it.
Yeah.
I gotta do it.
It's a fun adult game. It's a fun
game.
way to have fun with old people. Yeah. It's crazy how it's all changed through the years, too. How long have you been here? Since 2010. So
2010.
And Pearl Street wasn't really a thing yet when you moved here, was it?
And not really big. No, in fact, I only started going to like Pearl Street bars when basically the Hard Rock opened.
Yeah, there used to be pre-Hard Rock. There used to be like nothing. Actually, I'm sorry. This is even pre. This is pre-Hard Rock, like McCarthy Bailey's, PBR bar, all that. There was nothing there.
Wow.
When I was and this is like back before they tore down anything for the Hard Rock. I think most of those buildings were abandoned. Like there's like a bow and arrow place down there. There was a couple other little shops.
Yeah.
The porn store.
Still
and
there.
But like Milwaukee Wiener House used to be located.
That's right.
On Pearl Street.
And they got relocated.
Yeah, and like that was pretty much the only reason I think I'd ever gone to Pearl Street. And Boys Club down at the end. Everybody who wanted to mess around in high school played Boys Club basketball. So.
Oh,
Yeah, so we did that in high school and.
I almost forget about Pearl Street Burgies and stuff. I mean, they got their karaoke nights and stuff going down there, and that place always seems pretty busy.
Well, Burgies isn't even Pearl Street, but that's
bodegas. Okay, I call that the
back.
Pearl Street district.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is that?
I think they're technically Water Street.
Yeah, I think they are technically Water Street. They're on the corner of 4th and Water, I believe.
Yeah. But yeah,
but Pearl Street with Pearls and McCarthy and Bailey's PBR. I mean, those places are always really fun, and all three of them right next to each other, completely different.
Yep.
Completely different.
It's crazy seeing like, first of all, McCarthy Bailey's is like one of those places that every time I go in there, I'm like, I think this place is too nice. I think that they overshot how nice a bar should be because this place is so perfect.
It reminds me. It definitely looks like the sort of pub that you expect it to be. Just like, I mean, I've never been to Ireland or anything, but just like from movies and stuff that I watch, I'm like, this is a pub. Look at those like wood walls and shit.
And as much as I love Sioux City, there's a tendency of like businesses in Sioux City to kind of half-ass things.
Yeah.
And they did not there. They made that place look exactly like it should look, and I'm like, wow, this is down to like the bathroom doors are 4 inches thick.
Yeah. God, yeah. Heavy ass doors.
Yeah. It's a great spot, and
and I mean, and Pearls is always kind of cool too. Like, love the atmosphere. I mean, it's just like super dark.
Mm-hmm.
It is not like a rowdy place when you go in there. I mean, one, you probably couldn't. It's just super small.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice like sit down. Bar.
Even the Snug is nice for like a group event or whatever.
Oh yeah. I always forget about the Snug, right next to the McCarthy.
Yeah, my sister had her reception party. What's that? The dinner party before your wedding, whatever that is.
Isn't that reception?
It just a dinner party? No, it was like the night before the rehearsal dinner. That's what it is.
Okay.
Wow. Thanks for all the help, man.
Yeah, I mean, no problem, man.
yeah, that's where hers was. So like, I spent some time there. I was like, damn, this place is all right. It's just a meeting area, but they got a nice bar, nice area, wide open. And it's that kind of stuff just like didn't exist in Sioux City, 10 years ago at this point. And growing up, it's crazy to see how 4th Street has changed over time too. I think, where Rocks and Rails is right now. I believe
that used to be
Indigo
Palette, yeah.
And then before that it was Scotty's. No, it was at Rosie's, and then it was Scotty's. So it's been like 6 bars, and it's always been, for the longest time, it was like the 21-year-old bar and their friends who were 18. You know what I mean? It was like everybody with the fake ID. That was their bar, and just like to see that morph now into like Rocks and Rails, and now I feel like the college bars have kind of moved to like Firehouse and PBR. And,
those are definitely the college ones.
Yeah,
and a little bit of Bergie's too, but I think that's mostly because I think karaoke.
Yeah,
very big with the college crowd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People love freaking karaoke, man. I can't get over that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Chesterfield had like lines of people out the door.
Yep. It's like Japan.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
I mean, karaoke's fun. I think I did Bergie's karaoke on Halloween, and that was the last time I did karaoke. Before that, I can't tell you the last time I did karaoke.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't even think I have one. Okay, well, back in high school, I Will Survive.
Wow, you go full power ballad.
Oh yeah,
diva. You go full.
Oh, okay. I go diva.
Okay.
I go super diva, and
wow.
that was usually my go-to song, but I can't say that I've done that while 21 and over. So it's.
So you were sober every time you've ever done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is even
because of the law.
Even more sad.
Yeah.
but like karaoke, but I mean it's such a cool and just atmospheric place, but I just can't believe why. I don't know. They go to it every week.
Yeah.
Every week.
It's wild. Like that's like the thing, and I feel like there's like such a fad of like what the thing is at that time. You know what I mean? When we were in 5th grade, it was probably, I don't know if it was the same for you, but it was like, Mom, give me a ride to the mall. All my friends are at the mall. We're gonna go walk around. I don't know if it was not 5th grade, but whatever. 7th grade to freshman year of high school, when you don't have a car, so you have zero freedom. So you just like hope that a group of girls can get their mom to give them a ride to the mall.
We just rode our bikes to people's houses, and usually I would tell my mom, I'm going down to the park. No, I'm actually going over to a friend's house.
Ooh.
And we're just gonna cause trouble, but really we really didn't do anything. It was a boring life in Altoona,
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. It was all right.
Dude, I grew up
mostly went outside, so.
I grew up in Sergeant Bluff, like pre-Fairway being there. There was no gas station.
Fairway?
There was no gas. There was have you been to Sergeant Bluff?
Not in the last month, but I've driven through it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So like there was one gas station where you bought your groceries at, and there was like no grocery store, no rec center, no pool, no nothing. It was like either you were at your friend's house, or you like hoped that your parents would give you a ride to the Sioux City Mall. So it was tough. It was definitely different now than nobody even had internet. Wasn't really a thing until I was 12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then, the internet isn't the same as it is now.
No, so different.
You really had to work back when we were growing up to like get interested in things.
Yeah.
Do you remember that before like Facebook, before one of your friends could like send you a link instantly to like, hey, this is really cool, or check out this music video this band put out. Like even before like YouTube was really a deal, because YouTube came out in 06.
Yeah.
So I was definitely on the internet before then, right?
And all I did on YouTube back then, like when it first came out, was like look up music videos and watch music videos all the time, and that's all I used it for. And like searching on the internet, didn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like when everyone else was on Facebook, I was still on MySpace, talking to Tom and stuff.
Yeah.
But
you and Tom are the last two guys on there.
yeah, we were the last two guys. Oh man, MySpace. What a odd time. But then eventually making that time. But like I don't know, the internet was so weird for me because it was so late, and we got internet at my house when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
And everyone else had already had it, and I was just super far behind. And then eventually, my laptop broke, so I had to like always go to the library if I wanted to go on the internet, and they only allowed you like an hour to be on there. So internet was like never a big part of my growing up, especially like in my high school years.
Okay.
When I really started getting into the internet was when I was in college, and then they had like, oh yeah, here's some Ethernet ports. Go crazy. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this internet?
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite. I had the internet. I think my parents got it when I was like, I don't know, 4th grade, 5th grade probably. So yeah, like 2000, 2001 would be like right at the start of like homes. The average family has internet at that point.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely not the average one.
Yeah, we had a computer for 5 years before we ever had the internet.
Wow.
So, just in case you want to play a few casual games of Microsoft Paint,
you
can
fun.
do that. And that was like that back in the day before, remember being a kid and you're like, do your parents have internet on this thing, or do you guys not have internet here? And
oh yeah,
even
dial up and everything.
Yeah,
oh,
even
gosh.
if they did, like you were charged per minute. So
yeah,
sure as hell weren't doing much on your buddy's computer or whatever.
It was all my friends had like computers and stuff. I didn't have like a laptop until I was in high school, and that was our computer, my mom and I's. So when I wasn't on it, she'd be on it. She'd be like on Yahoo and stuff, and it was just I think we just had like an archaic way of looking at the internet, while everyone else was like super ahead of it. Searching Google, going to all these websites, and we're just like, I think I'll just play pinball on my laptop.
Yeah,
we just weren't really all that interested in it. It was, I don't know, it's a weird way of growing up, I guess.
It's thankfully I did have the internet, and I feel like I owe so much of like what I do now into like those early days on the internet, because like Sioux City isn't like really like a hotbed of like outside the mainstream subcultures. You know what I'm saying? So like I got really into like aggressive inline rollerblading, like the rollerblading with the grind place and stuff. And like, finding the communities online of people who were talking about that was like super big for me. And like I got really into mixtapetorrent.com was like really big when I was in high school, and it was before like SoundCloud or whatever had existed. So the only way to like hear emerging mixtapes was I downloaded every full mixtape that came out. Like every day, like 5 of them would come out on this website, and it was like back in the like original Gucci Man days. And I'd go through like, I'd be 18 years old, and every day I'd listen to every mixtape that came out. And I'd listen to like the first 30 seconds of every song, skip through, and I'd like keep a notepad next to my desk, which was like these are the 5 good songs from today, and I'd put those into like its own folder, and like becoming that like finder of interesting things before the social media existed to tell you about it. I feel like has like really lent itself to now as an adult, like finding out about interesting things and people in Sioux City without having necessarily the internet to tell me about it.
Yeah.
Or like having somebody else shove it down my throat or whatever, because that's how I found out about like what you're doing at the Weekender. It's as much as everybody in Sioux City should be supporting local things, especially quality local journalism, it definitely is not always the case.
No, and that's a lot of that. I don't know, because there's still like a large audience of Weekender readers that purely just picks up the printed version.
Mm-hmm.
And I still get calls from them. Like, if it's not at a certain location that they usually go and pick it up, they'll let me know. And I mean, I recently even got calls of this because we had like some delays and things with delivery. So
that's awesome.
I know that. I mean, so that's really cool to know that people are still interested in traditional media.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can tell when a story will be read more so online or do well online as opposed to print, just through the content matter and who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Because if chances are, if that person's really has that like online social media presence, chances are, if they like the story, if it's deals with them or has a picture of them, it will most likely do well online as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of the Weekender kind of relies on. It relies on the people. And I at least I noticed that a lot, because like if we do anything like on a bar, it'll usually do pretty well because people know the bar, they know the people that run it, and it'll just do well. And same with musicians. If they see this musician that they like, it'll pretty much get shares. So it just, I don't know, that kind of dynamic is cool and all, but it's also just kind of really tough to gauge every once in a while, because then one story will do well that I had no idea would ever do well.
I do assume that there's like a definite dichotomy in between like Weekender fans and people who like, I guess, read your magazine or the newspaper week to week. Would you consider it a newspaper?
Oh yeah, it's basically a newspaper.
Okay,
yeah. It's just a weekly.
Read that section of the newspaper every week, versus like people who are fans of whatever musician or bar you have in that week. Do you find yourself tailoring, I guess, stories to, I guess, like people or places with a little bit more popularity?
Yes and no. I mean, like, it's, at least I never consciously try to do that. I definitely, when it comes to musicians and doing like music stories, for instance, I'll even get like a lot of maybe not complaints, but there'll be days or like weeks where I clearly emphasize the entire issue, and it's all music stories, and there's basically way too much music. And I think the reasoning behind that is because I want to stick with the Weekenders like past aesthetics and like what it stood for. And from the people that I first interviewed, they always told me like all these great stories. Like I remember talking to, I think it was Mick Gammett from the Chesterfield and Bob Snodgrass, and they were both just telling me all these great things about the Weekender, the music scene, and how the music scene hasn't really been, I guess, I really didn't get too much love in the Weekender in like the past couple of years. And I'm like, well, that seems kind of strange. And like looking through like the old issues, like holy cow, there were bands on the cover like almost every week.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that's what has, if anything, that's influenced my decisions a little bit to include more bands. Obviously, they're not all going to be on the cover as much as they'd like to be, probably. I still have to like find a way to find a good cover story and find something that relates with the community. And obviously, I want to cater my stories to I want people to read them, so I have to cater to an audience that will enjoy that story. Like I can't write a super hard news story that would be like in the Sunday edition of the Sioux City Journal or something. I have to like keep to my beat, essentially. Yeah. And so I do come across that a little bit, but definitely not consciously. Unless it's the music, then I full on I want to do music stories. Yeah. And kind of show that. And I also try to keep that fair with the theater scene as well, and try to do stories with them. Obviously, I can't do stories with them all the time, but that's just how it kind of goes.
Cool. Yeah. I definitely see, and from my perspective, I see the Weekender as like almost like music and the arts first.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the
totally
general
fair.
idea?
Yeah, I think it is, because at least from what I learned back in 2014, we had like our the Weekender had its 15-year anniversary. So I got a chance to talk to, and I think this like actually helped me a lot. I talked to a lot of Weekender people
Mm-hmm.
that used to write for it, like the early days, the people that like founded it.
Yeah.
And they told me all these stories and stuff that they did, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there on the phone talking to these people, like, holy cow, this is what this paper used to do.
Yeah.
Like this and that. Like you guys had this much freedom, and like they got away with a lot of stuff back then. And I think I can, get away with some things, be a little bit more risque.
Yeah.
But not overtly.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like the Onion or something like that. Which would actually be kind of funny, but
or like a Vice. I feel like Vice's story would be like doing cocaine with the top rock band in Sioux City, something like that.
Right? Yeah, definitely wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
And I don't really think I want to go that far because I still have a little bit of I guess principles when it comes to reporting and just journalism in general, and I think I kind of find that balance with the Weekender. I keep it fun, keep to what the Weekender has been and the reputation it's built up, and finding that balance between that and my own principles as a writer and a reporter, and finding a way to like tell pretty entertaining stories, but not doing ones where I'm like high on cocaine, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any like people that you've interviewed or any like stories you've done that like really stand out as like this is what I wish every day was, or like this is what I hope to accomplish with this story?
Man, well, I think objectively, my best story I've ever written was the one where I wrote about the closure of the Chesterfield. Not the one where it closed.
Mm-hmm.
It was like months later. Mick Gammon, the owner, who basically just stayed away from everybody, finally contacted me out of the blue, and I got him to do an interview with me, and he kind of explained the reasoning of the closing of the Chesterfield. And that was the one time I actually felt like I was a really, really, I felt like I was a reporter, and I had really done a good job, and I'd really done something substantial.
Yeah.
It was because it was newsworthy. It was newsworthy. It was topical. It was something that I knew people would read about. Mm-hmm. Controversy aside or whatever, I knew people would want to read it. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think that was a substantial moment in the Weekender time that I remember. Other substantial things, like just the people I talked to, are super memorable. Mm-hmm. Like Tom Fugel, the El Forasteros founder. Like just talking to him is really cool, and getting the chance to. I mean, he ended up passing away. It was probably like the last interview he had, which is crazy to think because this guy was like super well known, and then I don't know.
Yeah,
I started rambling.
No, because I really, going back to like the interview with Mick from the Chesterfield, like that was one that I definitely read when you did it, and I really felt sometimes I get a little bit disenfranchised as somebody who lives in Sioux City and somebody who cares about things going on locally when I'm watching the news or reading the newspaper, because I do think that there tends to be an emphasis on stories that will produce the most ad revenue, especially more in the the TV side of things. Yeah, I understand that the reason that they're at every third grade song, Christmas concert or whatever, is because there's 300 kids there and their 300 parents are all going to watch the news that night. Because I do understand that, and I hate it. I don't give it a pass. I don't think that it's okay. I think that it's trash, and I think that that's not what journalism is. And I think that in general, the people of Sioux City are owed a little bit more to like the actual things going on here versus like things that are just going to make a quick dollar so you can show your Nielsen ratings to advertisers. Sure. And that was your story with Mick, was the one that I was like, damn, this is so good. Because you started out and it was like you had your feelings about like the closure of the Chesterfield and your relationship with Mick. And then like you even painted the picture of you guys were sitting in a parking lot, correct? I remember reading that. I'm like, this is what journalism is. This is telling the story of an event. It's not giving me the police blotter version of an event. I was actually told about an event from the perspective of somebody that now made me buy into their point of view. Now, you know, it didn't have to be an objective. I don't need, well, first of all, like, no news is objective, right? Like, you're never really getting the objective news.
Yeah.
But it was like clearly written from a viewpoint, and it was a viewpoint that I could definitely agree with by the end of it. And I was just like, wow, I respect the shit out of this writing right here. And so, I mean, not to like, I feel like I'm rambling about how much I appreciated that article, but I thought that was like a great example of what Sioux City journalism should aspire to.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's just like, and it was an event I cared about, an event that I didn't really care that much about until I read about it. And I was like, wow, this guy made me care about this thing that he cares about. And so
that's definitely like a level I kind of strive to. Or at least like that story is always going to remain in my mind. Because I think that is like, if I hadn't developed a strong relationship with Mick, who's always been really, really helpful with me, when it came to like getting stories and getting a hold of bands for the Weekender, you know, finding events and things, like that story probably would have never happened. He would have never talked to me. And yeah, I think I did give enough context, and it just that story just like it wrote itself for me. As much as that is a cliche, it really did. Like, once I just sat down with him, I just went through the interview, transcribed the whole thing, and just started writing, and it just got to that point. And it's hard to like, because obviously not every story is going to be like that. Not every story is going to be like a home run, but you still try for it. You still, you know, swing for the fences, as they say. So that's one that always will stick out in my mind, and probably my biggest achievement. So
it was a great, like, not only was it, you know, substantial, it had good substance, but it also had like a tone and a voice to it that I felt like was distinctly yours, which was really, you know, definitely like the aspiration for any writer is, right?
Yeah.
To get to that point, like, you know, as most college boys do, I got like really into Hunter S. Thompson's
same here.
You know, journalism after like the articles he was writing for Rolling Stone, you know, the Fear and Loathing series, and
the like Gonzo journalism. Man.
Yeah, and you know I wouldn't really want you writing like the exact same way, but like it was like a voice that was so distinctly his, right?
Yeah,
you know? Like you can read.
It can't be duplicated.
I feel like you could read a paragraph out of any, you know, somebody could give you any random paragraph out of a Hunter S. Thompson book or article, and like you could read it and be like, yep, that's a Hunter S. Thompson paragraph.
I definitely agree there. And he's something that I definitely, I mean, he is my favorite writer.
Okay.
And I've tried to like get to that. There are times where I like try to like, especially in the early years of the Weekender, wanted to emulate that and have fun with it and do a little bit more Gonzo style, but then more I did that, the more I realized like that's impossible.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like myself, and it's something that's really I still struggle with to still kind of find my voice when I'm writing and
yeah.
like that.
I feel you on that. Like that's something like, even, you know, I'm not a writer, but with like creating the descriptions for my Facebook videos, like I know all of the like best practices for social media copywriting. I definitely understand what they are, but like I can't do something that's that corny. Yeah, I can't write like I'm writing for a 45-year-old housewife to like, that's like every brand social media I feel like reads like they're writing towards like the most milquetoast person possible.
Oh yeah.
And
or they read like a Twitter, like a snarky Twitter bio.
Yeah.
And oh god, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Yeah. And it's like I said screw it. Now on Facebook, like I write long form all the time. Like every post I make has like a 3-paragraph description of it where I'm like actually talking about what I'm doing at that time or like my thoughts behind something. Where I don't know, it's probably stupid, but whatever. I like writing, and I feel like the more I write authentically in my voice, like the more I do something that can't be replicated. You know what I'm saying? Because like exactly the way you said, like you tried to emulate Hunter S. Thompson when you start out, but then you realize like that's not you. So it's like, oh damn, I don't want to seem like I'm ripping off somebody else.
Yeah, and like I I even went so far as to like, so Hunter did this when he was learning to write, and I still like doing this just because it kind of gives you in the rhythm of writing and how that person's voice is kind of made. But what he used to do was he type out word for word like The Great Gatsby and like some other his favorite books of his by his favorite authors, just to kind of get a feel for that rhythm of writing. And I did that with Hunter's work actually, and it was all the time. It was for whether it was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or the Kentucky Derby is Decadent and Depraved.
Yeah.
I'd always, I just wrote down his words and kind of got to that thing. But, and it's good for learning kind of the that rhythm and that pace where you want to write and how you want to be. But it's still just sort of, you still got to find yourself, and that's where I am now. I still have to. I'm still finding it. I still find glimpses of it because you wanna write a certain way, and sometimes you have to write a certain way, or you have to do this or that. But
absolutely. All right, so we just switched out the camera battery.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Hunter S. Thompson and his voice, and you replicating word for word what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I felt like I just recently, within the last year, read Hell's Angels by Hunter S. Thompson.
That's great.
And I felt like when I was reading that book, I would recognize my inner dialogue thought patterns changing towards his style of speech, like using
it's so distinct.
Depraved and savage and brute and like words like that in my head. Yeah.
Just like all these just really just gnarly words basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it is so fun to use those and to kind of like tap into that side, because you do end up, I mean, you're not really copying, you're kind of copying. And I'll find myself doing that. Like I'll say savage, brutal, or depraved. And I'm like, well, here's my Hunter word.
Yeah, yeah.
But then through that, you end up finding your voice and like how you actually want to write. And that's, I think it does help. I mean, I think reading helps above all else. So that's why I try to read as much of his stuff, or like nonfiction stuff that relates to journalism as much as possible. Have
you made the Charles Bukowski jump yet from Hunter S. Thompson?
I don't know who Charles Bukowski is.
What?
Yeah. I'm
the barroom poet?
The barroom poet?
Oh, damn. Charles Bukowski is like, he's, I put like, literature-wise, I put him above Hunter S. Thompson.
How dare you?
I mean, he's a novelist, and he was like he was a poet and novelist, and whereas Hunter S. Thompson is a novelist, journalist.
Yeah.
He is like he's a dude who like he wrote this series, Ham on Rye, Women in the Post Office. There's 3 books, and he like it was very. They were written as novels, but they were actually like pretty much his life story. Huh. Like he was a dude who I think he became like a famous writer in his 50s or 60s, like after a like lifetime of pretty shitty depression, alcoholism, and working at the post office. And he like wrote the books about Henry Chinaski, some Polish guy named Henry, who like it starts out with Ham on Rye as him being a kid, which is like a loose, I think it's a riff on Catcher in the Rye. Okay. And it's about some kid that's basically a little shitbag kid growing up in a white trash house who becomes an alcoholic and ends up like talks about his relationship with the way he like, I go home and have sex with ugly women, but it's just the way I am, or that kind of stuff like that. And there was like the inner workings of the mind of somebody who's so different than you, which is I think super interesting, because you read like what's a drugstore novelist like John Grisham, James
Patterson,
James Patterson,
Nicholas Sparks,
Michael Crichton, any of those dudes, right? Yeah. Like you're reading, those books are all written from the voice of a middle-class white guy. Those are all what those books are written. Even if the person in the book isn't a middle-class white guy, their thought patterns are the same as a middle-class white guy. Their thoughts and worldviews and perceptions are all the same as anything that we're familiar with. And this was the first book I read where I was like, wow, I don't even, I can't, this guy's taking me to a completely different mindset than I've ever heard before. And
It's
I was
extraordinary. I love
yeah,
reading books like that.
so good. And it was like, and it, like, it's so, a voice that was so specifically Bukowski's, where it does the same thing where you'll read it and it changes your, like speech patterns and thought patterns in your head for a while. And, it's kind of cool because he like I said, he started as a poet, and he has a way of making like the most simple sentences and paragraph structures like become extremely eloquent. Like he makes words, like he uses so few words to convey such a big message and thought and feeling of like what he's sitting in at that time, that like he's like just the ultimate in what's possible of literature, in my opinion. But
if I read this guy, I'm probably gonna feel like super jealous of him. I'm like, God, I want to do that.
yeah.
Just looking at his words and how'd you do this?
Yep. Yeah. And he uses language like, I don't know how much time you spend at dive bars, but like the worst dude at the dive bar who's let his life get the farthest away from him, but the guy that you love and you think he's hilarious, but you're like, I can't co-sign on any of these things that you're saying because I have a reputation. Like that's exactly how his like writing is, and I just love it. I think it's just like beautiful and such a insight to a segment of the population that I'm just not familiar with.
Yeah, I love doing that.
Yeah,
and that's why I kind of like. That's probably why I like Hunter S. Thompson. But I'll definitely have to look up
Charles Bukowski.
Charles Bukowski.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charles Bukowski. You said he's better than Hunter, but
better is very subjective. He is.
Right. Well,
I probably enjoy reading his work more than I enjoy reading Hunter's work.
Okay.
Hunter's gets a little bit. At times, Hunter, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like at times became a little bit of a chore to get through pieces. I felt like I can
see that.
Yeah,
sure.
Whereas, and then Hell's Angels, I never felt that at all.
I love that. That's the one I'm listening to. Like I'm a big fan of audiobooks because I'm always going back home. Or not always, but when I do go back home, I usually find an audiobook to listen to, and always go back to that. Listen through Fear and Loathing Las Vegas on there, and now Hell's Angels is the one I'm on now, and it's so cool to like.
You mentioned Sioux City in there.
Oh, say what?
He mentioned Sioux City
Does
in
he?
there, probably in reference to
The Forest Arrows.
Yeah. Well, he didn't like. I say probably in reference to, not because like I don't know who it was, but because he didn't say. It was he said something about like motorcycle gangs have taken over Sioux City, Iowa, like a bunch of savage brutes riding around on iron horses.
Oh man, I gotta get that part. Oh man,
the Hunter S. Thompson mode of speaking, you know.
It's I can't even duplicate it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like unless I'm Johnny Depp. And
it's crazy how good Johnny Depp did it.
Oh, it was great. That's still one of my favorite movies. I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and if you ever seen Where the Buffalo Roam, it's the other Hunter S. Thompson movie that everyone has forgotten about.
I think I have. Well, Rum Diaries also exists.
Oh yeah, I forgot Rum Diary. Okay, well literally everyone's forgot about Where the Buffalo Roam because it's Bill Murray as Hunter S. Thompson, and literally his performance is like the only good thing about that movie. Everything else is like kind of trash. But it's very Gonzo-y in a good way, and then it's just, other than that, it's just a really not well put together movie. Yeah. But other than that, like he definitely gets the Hunter vibe, and he gets that speech pattern, and they're actors, they can get that stuff, but
I really love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas because like cinematically it nailed, number one, the tone and the beats of Hunter S. Thompson.
Yes. Right? Only Terry Gilliam could do that. And I love his stuff too.
It also visually captured like the aesthetic of, like, it made a Ralph Steadman painting or print into a movie, which is like just beautiful combination of those two elements. It's amazing.
And Ralph is like favorite artist too, so I love that look of his. It's just so gritty and real. I love it. And but yeah, Fear and Loathing, the movie itself is just, it's such a trip. Yeah. In every sense of the word.
The hotel lizard orgy scene is just
like reading that, and like even how they came up with that cinematically still baffles me. But of course they had Terry Gilliam to do this, so of course he can do that sort of that weird shit.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off so well.
That's been like replicated, I think, two music videos right away. The Avenged Sevenfold, whatever big song they had, I can't.
Oh well, one of their
Backcountry.
Backcountry,
Yes.
yeah, which is a reference, a direct reference to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
Then there's like another Lil Wayne video where he's like, he's dressed as Hunter S. Thompson in that movie, and I think it's like 6 foot, 7 foot music video.
Oh gosh.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's been a while since I watched a Lil Wayne music video. I'll be honest.
I think that was like in the prime of his. I'm not a rapper anymore. I'm a rock star now, and being a really shitty rock star. It's like, come on, man! You came out with the Carter 2 and 3s. Keep doing that. Do that more.
Yeah. No, he doesn't want to, man.
Well, even the Carter 4, I say the Carter 4, if that was Lil Wayne's first album and he was like a brand new rapper that day, like people would have been like, this dude Lil Wayne is about to be the next big thing. And that's his most recent like studio album.
Yeah.
Give the dude some credit. Everybody's like, Lil Wayne fell off. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, I wouldn't say fell off, but I mean, like, other people have risen up for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like the hip hop game has changed. So that's bound to happen, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kendrick Lamar's killing it. He's probably like my favorite rapper at the moment. It's probably cliche to say, but I freaking love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kendrick. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Kendrick.
I
was not a huge fan of Damn. I like Damn, but Good Kid, Mad City's way better. But that's
Definitely
also because I'm a huge movie buff. So there's like that cinematic quality to Good Kid, Mad City. So
yeah, I think artistically, Damn was a lot more realized. Like it was a lot more complete concept, and regarding like the visuals that it tagged along with the album and the production quality in reference to the imagery on the album. Like I think it was all like super cohesive, and all the branding for everything was
for sure
just a total project. I loved it. But there's like a Money Trees, I think, is just like, now that that song's came out and that song's been made, I think that Kendrick can never have another. I think that the fact that Money Trees is on Good Kid, Mad City, I don't think that he can ever have an album as good as Good Kid, Mad City, just because, I don't know, to me that's like the pinnacle of like songwriting. It's like a total, it's a feeling ingrained in lyrics and melody, right? You know, it's the lyrics like don't even matter at that point. Like the way that song just all flows together. And
yet it's still like telling a story. It's like part of the narrative of Good Kid, Mad City as a whole. And it's just it's cool to see how all that sort of like ties together and stuff. The album is amazing. And I think someone a friend of mine, probably someone I work with, said that Damn is like a combination of like Good Kid, Mad City and like Section 80, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know.
The album he had before Good Kid, Mad City, which I've listened to. Can't remember the name of it apparently, but I think that's I think it's a pretty accurate description. But yeah,
I'd call myself a super casual Kendrick fan.
Super casual Kendrick fan. That's fine. That's fine.
As far as like not having one negative thing to say about him, like I just like he's not like the first dude I search for when I'm looking to listen to any music at that point. And the one, right after say I couldn't say anything bad about him ever, and it's not not something bad about him. It's just that I think a lot of people wanted to look at Damn like it's like so innovative, when I felt like Damn was kind of what Tyler, the Creator's been doing since 2008.
I won't say that Damn is any way innovative.
Yeah, that's
by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I felt like it was like, and I had a lot more respect for. Tyler, the Creator's like a dude that I listen to his music a fair amount, but like I would not put him in my like top 10 artists, but he's definitely in my top 10 most respected artists.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Yeah,
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, so where I'm like, dude, what you're doing is different than what everybody else is doing, and you've had this vision all along. That dude, you know, with a background in film like you have, being interested in cinema, you've probably heard the concept of being an auteur. Yeah. Like the concept that like everything you do is like visually and obviously yours because of the style that you've developed in a world that you like. Basically, the whole aesthetic of everything you're doing all fits together, right? That was for everybody. I wasn't explaining that to you like you're doing. No. Just so everybody's on the same page. Yeah, an auteur is like, so example would be Quentin Tarantino or like Christopher Nolan, like those people, or Wes Anderson, somebody who's like, it's unmistakably their movie if they had a part in it. And I think that Tyler, the Creator, is like really embodies that as a full concept artist. like all of the graphics associated with what he's doing, all of the music that he does, all of the visuals with what he does, all like fit together to the point where he's had like successful music career, and then like everything that Loiter Squad is like it's not putting any type of like commercial marketing objectives first. It's like putting his artistic vision before anything else, and I'm like, that's pretty dope. Like Loiter Squad like can't watch it. It's like unwatchable for me. I can't stand that shit. But like I'm just like, okay, I get where he's doing with this. That makes sense.
Yeah, well,
he has an audience.
Those people are cool to, I mean, to be able to get that, to basically brand your own style in basically an industry, whether it's movies or music, and actually get that sort of creative style still there, is pretty incredible in my eyes. Because I imagine like that's probably pretty controlled, or I imagine it would be. I don't really know, but to have them like still get that out there, it's pretty great. And now it's like, I mean, when you see a Quentin Tarantino movie, you like expect his calling cards. Basically, you want these just ginormous like bloody action scenes, and his dialogue, of course. And it's cool to be part of that, but like to get that in the industry, I imagine that took a little bit of work, but maybe it was just pretty easy for them. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's interesting that it's happened in movies for so long, because I think that movies have, since basically like day one, I think that movies have been regarded as art since like like Citizen Kane those days. I think that like they've been like, this is about making art first. So there has been that emphasis on like when a new guy comes around, like Tarantino or Wes Anderson, or even like the Coen brothers, shit like that, right? Where they create like an aesthetic and develop a style that's distinctly theirs. Studios start wanting to hire them for their style, right? Whereas with music, since day one and up until really the internet changed the game, I think that developing a style that was artistically yours didn't matter at all if a record company couldn't market you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it existed in the underground. Like, there was, like, the Ramones, and even, like, Marilyn Manson would be an example of, like, that kind of shit that, like, kind of existed outside the mainstream record industry system. But, like, when, Pop Act came along, like, they had to make her the next Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift had to be the next Madonna. It had to be the next, where everything's calculated. It's like, okay, people really like acoustic music, so we're going to do a singer-songwriter country album. And now they they want you to be a little bit more edgier, so you should make a few subtle references to Kanye West in this song. It's like, it's so calculated and gross to me that I can't give it any artistic merit. But
it feels super fake. But like, I mean, like art first. I don't even think that, I mean, obviously that's not like the case a lot of the times. Like, you see like the highest grossing movies of the year, and a lot of them really can't say like we went art first, or maybe some they can, but like, I don't know. It's such a, it's a business, and I understand that can be a business, but I want to see something more original. I'm always about for more original stuff, but
I think that in the top 10 grossing movies of the year, is top 10 or 15, the only non-sequel was Hacksaw Ridge. So, that's,
wait, this year?
Yeah, of the year.
What?
Yeah, and I read that headline briefly, and I'm so far removed from, like, what traditional media is doing at any point where I'm just like, I can't even, sure, great, they're awful. Yeah, whatever. But, like, I started thinking about that, and even, like, there is even that argument where, have you seen Hacksaw Ridge?
No, actually.
It's
I know what
amazing.
it is, though.
It's a great
movie.
movie.
War movie, right?
Yeah, about the pacifist. But, like, there's also an argument that, like, any war movie is basically can be argued as propaganda. Just by the definition of what propaganda is. So it's like, it's super disappointing that, like, okay, the only non-sequel movie that is just made purely for revenue was arguably a propaganda movie. Even though I love the movie, and I'd like to think that I'm pretty aware of propaganda being served to me, but like, yeah.
But are you a big like movie buff? Like, do you like those like sequel movies or like those all those superhero movies that are being made right now?
I've never gotten into superhero movies. I was
Seriously?
never into comic books or like even involved in that universe. So I just like don't care. I didn't play video games really as a kid.
Man,
kind of played video games, maybe a little bit. I was, I guess I didn't even really watch cartoons like past 12. Sorry, like I know I just got into like internet subcultures quickly, and like that kind of consumed me. So
I see.
I was into skate videos and rap music, I guess, as a kid.
Yeah. I was always into the cartoons and movies and stuff. I'm still a movie, but probably not as big as I used to be because I used to see a movie. I used to go to the theaters so often.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just don't. I don't go to the theaters at all. And
Yeah.
I'm getting so sick and tired of those superhero movies. Maybe that's left me jaded, but it's probably just another reason I'm just cheap and lazy.
I do love movies though. To be fair, I just hate superhero movies.
Oh,
just
well, that's okay.
Just because I feel like I spent too much time at film school, understanding how story structure works. So you can like literally once you understand the formula and like what characters are which on like there's only like 3 different like real types of movies, right? Yeah. And like once you understand like, oh, this is that character, this is that's the foil of this character, right? So it's like I know at what point in the story they're going to reveal that they're actually the force working against this person. And it's like, you hit those plot points in the movie where it's like, okay, there's the end of the first act and now we're in the second act. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the false resolution. All right. No, back to that. Now there's the real resolution and here's the climax and we're done.
Yeah. I used to be like a super just snooty movie buff. And every movie I'd watch, I felt like I could never enjoy a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think at one point I'm just like, you know what? Let's just try to go into it with a clear head.
Mm-hmm.
And with some movies, like the Fast and Furious franchise, I love those movies, but I just have to turn my brain off and just let myself sort of be, just sort of be there and take it all in. Because deep down, I really don't need to like critique anything about
Dom Toretto and the gang.
Yeah, I really don't. I really don't, because it's so crazy and out there. It's just like, well, just enjoy it. And I like seeing those movies. So, I mean, with it, obviously that wasn't an art first type of thing, but it's still kind of cool to watch those movies. So I'm like, I'm always kind of about the fence because I'll say, oh, I hate superhero movies, or I'm getting so sick and tired of them, and I am. But then I'll be at Thor Ragnarok or Spider-Man Homecoming, a couple days after it was released, and watch it and be like, yeah, that was pretty good. Or like watch something like Logan and be like, this is amazing. So I mean, I think there is exceptions to like the rules and stuff, but I end up looking like a hypocrite no matter what.
I can definitely feel that. I try and get myself to do the same thing because like anybody who's ever been in the military watching like a military movie can be brutal. Like nobody's ever worn a uniform correctly in the first. Like the simplest things are always blown. So you just got to completely disconnect yourself from like all prior experiences if you're gonna enjoy that.
Yeah, I love watching movies that have to deal with like the newspaper and like kind of comparing it to how mine is, because I remember watching, I think it was a Spotlight, and they had like a and that was obviously set in like I think the 2000s.
They like didn't even have computers in that movie, right?
No, I think they did.
They
did. It was fairly recent. But they had like an entire break room, and there's like freaking pizza slices on like a little conveyor belt and stuff, and like all this like cool stuff, and it looks like college almost. But I'm looking at that like, what the hell is this? Yeah. This is so not like a regular newsroom. But of course, maybe it was like that. I don't know. But it's so weird. Like, I love watching those movies and just kind of comparing them to what I know. And like seeing a newsroom, and obviously not all newsrooms are different. Like, but this one's fairly small and stuff. But and seeing that sort of stuff and just picking it apart, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see how that stuff goes.
Like before the internet was really taking over like money that traditional media still was balling around with. I was like, oof.
Or like looking at the reporters, like they're interviewing people in a scene, and it's like, no, that's not what you would say. This isn't how this would go. This isn't how this would go.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably accurate to a degree, but I don't know. I'm always getting nitpicky when it comes to movies like that.
Yeah. Have you seen Chef, the movie?
Chef. Is that the one with oh gosh, Jon Favreau?
Yep.
Yeah, the food truck one.
Yep.
That was really cool.
That was like the movie that I watched. It's probably been 3 years since I watched it, honestly. But the movie that I watched, and I was like, damn, this movie is good and different. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time what it was. And then I figured out that the whole movie is the third act. Like, like the whole, like, you know, like the last like 90% of the movie is like, in what most movies is the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Where like, oh, the hard part, like something bad happened, right? He get divorced from his wife.
Something like that.
Yeah. Sorry, spoiler alert for Chef.
Spoilers. Oops.
But like, you know, then he has like, he wants to like make sure that he's having a good relationship with his kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they get on the food truck, and like every regular story structure would make you go, oh man, something bad has to happen at the end, because like that's how movies work, right? Like you have to have like that whole second act that's like building towards like kind of a instant tragedy that's instantly resolved, right? And there wasn't one. It was just like the rest of his life is great, and he has a great relationship with his son and his wife, and even though they're divorced, they're still friends, and it's like, damn, all right.
Wrap a little bow on that one.
Yeah. So I was like, I couldn't place for the longest time why I liked it so much, and then I was like, oh, the story's completely different than any other movie I've watched.
I love Chef purely because of anything that like makes food look awesome in movies. I'm like all for it. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies with the pizza, the string, just cheese going just everywhere. It's like, oh, I love movies that just make food look so desirable.
I actually watched the behind the scenes on that, and like most of the scenes of like him, you know, chopping whatever, it was actually like a professional chef's hand.
Of course, yeah.
And then like they're like actually brought in like food stylists for all like the, you know, dressing up the plates and shit, and it was it's just a damn good movie. Just a damn good movie, start to finish. And it was simple.
Pretty fun. Yeah.
It wasn't really like a super ambitious plot.
No, and it wasn't like maybe a award worthy type of movie, but it was definitely just, it was fun. It was a well made movie, so I can't hate on that stuff. So.
Yeah. The thing that has got me back into movies now is, have you heard of Movie Pass?
Movie Pass, no.
It's like an app / just program that you can get where you can like, I think it's $10 a month or something.
Dang.
Where you can like subscribe to a movie theater, where it like turns like movie theaters into subscription services, where like you can go to the Promenade for $10 a month. You can go to as many movies you want, and like so you don't buy a ticket when you go. It's just like you pay that $13 a month.
That'd be all right. That'd probably get me into the theater.
Yeah,
if I did that.
Yeah, and it's like I got it for Christmas. I was like, damn, all right. So I do that.
Time to go see every awards movie before it comes out.
Yes.
Or before they win their awards.
Yeah. It's so it's pretty convenient. Like it's just an app. They have an app that you can use like the, you know, screen, and they can scan you in or whatever. And then there's also a card they send you in the mail. Where I was like, okay, this is a game changer. This is gonna get me back into the movies, because I used to do the every Tuesday night I'd go to the $5. I think they used to call it the $5 bonus package or something like that.
They had something. They like gave you like popcorn and stuff, I think.
Yeah. What it used to be like after the recession, where they stimulus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They it was $5 stimulus Tuesdays, I think is what it was. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But now I guess the economy's recovered too much. They had to cut us off.
Yeah, that's okay.
Bastards.
We could just go to the Riviera. Oh wait.
No.
Did you ever go to the Riviera? I actually went there quite a bit.
I think I went twice. I guess like I went there as a kid, but after post moving back from college, I think I went to 2 movies there before it was cut off. And I was like, I told everybody that it was they have beer there that they served after 9, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because everybody tell me about like Alamo Draft Houses in Kansas City or, you know, Denver or whatever. I'd be like, yeah, there's beer at the movie theater in Sioux City. Mm-hmm. I you know, I liked what they were doing there. I always just felt like they could have been doing a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
which budgets are tight, you know, and that kind of stuff.
They are. I always went there when I was at Briarcliff, because we actually, all we had to do was show our student ID, and we basically see a movie like on like, I think it was a specific day, probably Wednesday, for like $1, which was awesome. Obviously, like you're a college student, you don't have much money anyways, so, and I want to see movies, and I didn't care that they were like late releases or already came out on like DVD and Blu-ray. Because I remember seeing like the Harry Potter movies there, a bunch of I remember seeing the King's Speech there, a bunch of Oscar kind of stuff. So I mean, I always thought it was kind of fun. It was super like retro a little bit, but man, it always feels like I knew that going in there, I knew that place had a shelf life, and it feels like that's always a I mean, it's always a danger with everything, but even more so in Sioux City, especially with like restaurants and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, has it always been that way? You've lived here. Have there always been things that when they're here, they're only here for like 2 years and then they're gone? I swear one of these days they're gonna like just move. Like theaters will, I won't say be obsolete, but they'll just be moved. Like the things that we see in theaters will be moved to streaming, and then they're somehow gonna find some way to monetize that. And make us pay for it.
Yeah. That's,
I don't know.
That's the only thing that's stopping them right now. That's literally the only thing that's stopping them right now. But I think that like that movie pass thing that I have, it really makes sense as a financial model for them moving forward. Is like if you can get as many people as possible on like a subscription service. Yeah. I think that it makes a lot more sense to like try and get those people into the theater, like where if you pay us $10 a month, you can come to as many movies as you want, right? And to me, that's really worth it as like a moviegoer. And like I'm not gonna feel bad if I go a month without missing a movie. If I go to a month where I went to 3, you know what I mean?
The theater experience is always really fun too. At least in my mind, I like going to the movie theaters. I haven't gone to one in forever for who knows what reason, but when I go there, I actually I enjoy it. I love the atmosphere of just seeing a movie in the theater, that giant screen and stuff. I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine going to like a streaming service or something like that, because I would imagine there's like probably talks of that probably happening. Yeah. If it already isn't, if it already is happening, and I just have no idea.
I'm not aware of anything right now, but I'm sure there is options, right? Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see like how Hollywood adapts. I think a lot of it comes from like the actual studio system having to adopt their budgets and ideas of money and contracts, and like figuring out like how that changes moving into like the new, the birth of new media, where I feel like us as being kids who were 16, 15 years old when YouTube really came out. In that area, right? And like, so we feel like we were there for the birth of it. So I feel like there's like this common thing where if you're a 27-year-old guy and you don't have your YouTube channel already set up, like you feel like, oh, everybody's on YouTube now. The opportunity is gone. But I think that like it's still in the infancy. Like I don't think that anybody who who wanted to be a Hollywood director or make a studio in 1926 had missed the boat by any means, right? Yeah. So I think that that's kind of like still where we're at. And like as YouTube gets bigger and bigger and whatever comes along after YouTube or along with YouTube, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the rise of like truly DIY and creator-driven content is going to put like that $10 million budget out of even it being an option in Hollywood.
I mean, look at all the freaking YouTube like stars and stuff. I mean, it's like almost like a new Hollywood almost. Yeah, because it's an industry at this point. There's actual personalities. They're making a lot of money. Yeah, well, maybe not a lot, but I mean, like they're making wages, and especially the ones that have like millions of subscribers.
You know what I think? I think that they're underpaid. Honestly, that's gonna sound like it's like people hate that, but I honestly think that like for the amount of brand equity, audience, and like celebrity and fame that the average like big YouTuber, like you go to like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Casey Neistat level, Philip DeFranco, I think that those dudes carry a lot more cultural weight than who's like somebody who's outside of like a Brad Pitt almost at this point. With especially with people under the age of 25. Yeah. And it's only going to be so long before like brands and companies like really go, oh shit. Like more people know Casey Neistat, who hasn't had a video or hasn't had a show on HBO since 2006, than know I can't even think of somebody who has like a show on MTV right now and like that's all they're famous for. Like Rory Kramer has a show, and he like started out, and he's a guy who started out on YouTube as Justin Bieber's like tour videographer, but now he's got a show on MTV where I think that not as many people are going to know that dude off of his show on MTV as people are going to know Logan Paul off of his vlogs. Yeah. Which is going to be interesting to see how that shifts and gets monetized moving forward.
There's definitely going to be a lot more jobs for video editors, I assume. Yeah. Because I can see them in the future like coming up with not really firms, but just, well, basically just businesses of just editors and videographers working with these personalities and stuff and getting a cut of whatever's made.
Yeah, like a web-driven production company with nimble videographers.
Yeah, something like that. I can see that sort of happening.
Hypothetically, you call it Honeywave Media, where you're like, oh, I'm going to create digital content that tells short stories, you know? Yeah, I could see that happening.
I could totally see that happening.
I'm totally on board with that idea.
Like
Love
in 10 years, 10 years time, we could probably see that.
Yeah.
You know, this is the future we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
Not
I think it's
now.
probably going to happen on a national level. It's already happened on a national level, and I could see it probably start happening on a local level where people start making podcasts about like the city they're in. Call it, like, hypothetically, there'd be like a Sioux City Show where people
That sounds that sounds like a really good idea.
I'm on the same page. I'm gonna start looking into the possibility of doing that.
You better jump on it before someone else does.
Definitely.
I'm gonna do it though.
Yeah.
I'll steal that thunder. No worries.
So I think we can probably start to wrap things up here after an hour and a half. But as somebody who's working in like traditional media that's already kind of made the push over, especially I feel like the Weekender. I feel like the Weekender, more so than the Journal itself, has kind of made a push into like doing things digitally. Do you see that continuing to like change how you're approaching your job and like the type of stories you're trying to tell? Or
I think so. I mean, even now, a focus on digital presence is like super important. We're almost like playing catch up a little bit too, because I think we have an Instagram now, and that's something like I just don't do. I don't go on Instagram and do all that stuff. So us playing or adapting to that sort of digital world and doing that sort of thing, I can definitely see that happening. Whether that means us doing more like YouTube videos and more things of that nature. But since we're on like such a small scale, I think there'll still be that part of us where we'll be in that, we'll keep that one foot in the traditional media space. Like I can't see our paper going away just yet.
Yeah.
And if it did, it would probably still live on as something else. There'd still probably be like an online edition or something. Who knows? But I think it's already helped me change in some ways, and it's how I structure my stories a little bit. It's how how stories will do well. Something
I'm really worried about with the shift towards digital is like, I think that there's almost a misunderstanding with a lot of bigger media companies, like like the big mainstream, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whether it be left or right leaning, however you want to call it, right? I think that there's been like this shift that like just because it's on social media means that it's disposable, throwaway content. And
you can tell that in the titles.
Yep, and there's not an emphasis on actually, turning it into clickbait, turning it into, like, I don't know. I think that because
the voice is different.
I understand that they're doing it for the ad dollars. That's why you need to have like clickbait titles to drive more clicks to your website. Clicks equal dollars. I understand that, but it's like, at what point are you influencing the world for the worst because you're not telling the right version of the news?
Exactly. And I actually do come across that.
Yeah.
Just not on like a huge level, but in some ways, like whether it be like a super like clickbaity headline, like it's so like those do well. Yeah. It's shown to do well, and it's sad that is the way it is. But I kind of wrestle with that and kind of still, at least in my mind, push away it a little bit. I still want to have principles.
Yeah.
I still want to have a conscience.
Yeah.
and not turn into that, not degrade myself.
Yeah.
And not degrade the Weekender either.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what I'm representing now.
Yeah.
And it sucks that media is that way.
Yep.
A lot, especially the mainstream ones, because they do well. Literally, all you got to do is just find something controversial and write a controversial headline to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
which in 2017 meant include a hyperbolized take on what Donald Trump did that day.
Yes.
Like, regardless if it was a left or a right, like the right hyperbolized it to the positive and the left hyperbolized it to the negative, and it's like very rarely were we given any type of true account of what happened politically that day.
Yeah, it's not journalism. Yeah. It's just straight up. I mean, you can call it manipulation. That's what it is.
Where it's almost disappointing that publication.
And also people don't understand like how the media works either.
Yeah.
People don't understand the difference between a like localized story or a story written by someone who like lives in Sioux City, for instance, or something that was an AP story.
Yep.
People don't understand that, and it's you're disenfranchising the readers, and the readers are getting very, I won't say hostile, but they'll react very emotionally.
Yep.
To what you read and put out there. So and they just assume it's you all the time.
I've definitely called out local news stations a couple times on social media about what I would call poor ethics in journalism, where exploiting. I think that there's people latch onto that, the popularity of like Sioux City lockup, and I think that a lot of the news stations in Sioux City are almost bummed that they weren't the ones to think of that. You know what I mean? And then like kind of trying to exploit local tragedy and like mental illness oftentimes for like web clicks, and that doesn't sit well with me. Like I just think that that's like if you're a local publication, don't exploit the people who live here.
Of course
right?
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should go without saying, right?
Yeah.
But that's the ethics that we're kind of driven to, and. I'm not saying that we do it or that the Journal does it or anything like that.
No,
because I really don't know.
I agree with that.
But there are people that think that way, and that's their prerogative. But like that's the media changing into this weird new voice. I don't like it, man.
Yep.
I really, really don't.
It's disappointing to me that like Vice News, a publication like Vice News, where they kind of came in to be like the rebel news organization, to me have almost grown into like the biggest publication of substance, where they do have like some of there's Vice and there's Vice News, right? You know what I'm saying? Where Vice has like they'll talk about like have Dennis Rodman talk about doing blow on cruise ships, whereas like Vice News does more in-depth reporting, whether it be like through like weird subcultures and communities in America, or going abroad to meet with cartel bosses. Like, I think that they've told like my top 10 interesting stories for the last 2 years have been done through Vice News, whereas like CNN's just like all about a click, and I use CNN to represent the whole mainstream media, but it's just like it's gotten sloppy, it's gotten lazy. I'm looking at national publications with typos in their articles that are going out online, and it's like, and it just represents like the absolute death of journalism, and they're trying to push out 40 articles an hour rather than like I guess
I want to know where they're getting all the reporters for this.
I want there to be one story a day. I'd rather see one story a day of whatever subject you want to call it. If it's like I'm the business section of the CNN, like here's my big well thought out story of the day. Like I'd almost rather see that than the 50 small headlines that have just all been half-assed.
But people don't. I don't know. I think that people just don't want to read. Man.
Yeah.
They just. That's why headlines are like so. People just read headlines.
Yeah.
That's all they read now. They don't They don't click a story. They find a headline on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and they share it, given only that much information. And I think people are really doing a disservice to themselves by doing that.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of times, I mean, if you read these stories, a lot of them are just, they'll be clickbait, and then there's you find the truth, and that's like, oh, this is what they're saying. They just had this awful headline in there just so I could click on it.
Yeah. The most recent one with that was net neutrality.
Oh, man. Everyone's all over
so,
that.
Like, I'm definitely in favor of the absolute inability for ISPs to be able to throttle any internet service, which would have been left in place if they would have not repealed net neutrality. Also, I think that hypothetically I'm for a free market, but a free market doesn't exist with ISPs because of the oligopoly system that's implemented or whatever. So like you get the right talking heads, the Rush Limbaughs of the world have like told everybody who watches Fox News that net neutrality needs to be repealed because there's no free and open market with net neutrality in place. It's Obama era regulations. And then you get the left that's like, if they repeal net neutrality, that is the end of the internet as we know it. Where I like saw in Sioux City the day that they repealed it, like a lot of people, especially in the music community, were like, well, it looks like we're going to have to go back to flyering because promoting bands on social media as we know it definitely isn't going to exist for long. And it's like, dog, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think that the ISPs are like, oh, great, we finally have control of the internet. Let's make sure that nobody uses it again, you know?
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
In everything that's news related.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't claim to know everything about net neutrality or really like just any topic for that matter, but that's just the way it is. And it sucks that's the way it is because I want people to actually inform themselves, educate themselves. And then on the other hand, they got to also realize what they're reading is written by a person that could be trying to mislead you. And that's alarming for me as well, because that's my job, that's my career, that's the field that I'm in. And when one person does that, it just makes us all look terrible.
Yeah.
And oh god, it's not fun. It's not fun. The Weekender was called fake news at one point. And I'm just like, well, wait, what? That,
I feel like you guys are like the farthest thing from trying to be like, there's like your voice is in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like yeah.
But that's, people can think the way they want.
Well, dang.
That's
so.
And on such a downer.
Yeah. Well, I think that we like got all of the things that I was really hoping to get covered. I'm sure I'll think of something when I'm laying in bed tonight. I'll go, damn it.
Yeah.
I meant to ask that, but nothing's popping to mind right now. So go ahead and tell everybody where they can find, your work, how to get in touch with the Weekender, like, where to find what you're doing. And
yeah. I mean, obviously follow us on Facebook. Just look up the Weekender or SC Weekender. Follow us on Twitter. And I think we have a new Instagram now. If you can, we'll try to be more active on that. I'll try to be more active on that. And pick up the paper whenever you can. We work really hard on getting this publication out to you, and pick them up at like Hy-Vees, gas stations, just a bunch of stores anywhere that'll have it. Go to a bar, they have all of them, so it's pretty cool. So definitely pick up the Weekender and read our stuff.
All right, thank you so much for stopping by today. Thanks for sitting down.
Yeah.
And thank all of you for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Sioux City Show. We hope that you take the time to go to our YouTube page and subscribe to us on YouTube at Honeywave Media, just to make sure that you're keeping aware of all the content that's coming out. It also makes our videos reach a larger audience when you are subscribed, so support us there. And if you are looking to just have an audio version of this, which you might be listening to right now, subscribe to us on Stitcher if you're on Android, or Apple Podcasts if you are a good person. And make sure to subscribe, like us, rate us, leave a review. Anything you can do will help us reach a larger audience. We want to keep this thing moving for Sioux City, and it will be a big help to us. So thank you so much. And